Together.
Not one step back.
We are excited to be here today to launch the Rise Up and Revival Get Out the Vote tour that's going across the state this weekend and next weekend to Eastern North Carolina, to the Piedmont. We're also excited to announce our partnership with Forward Justice, Repairs of the Breach, Poor People's Campaign, and the Legal Defense Fund, NAACP Legal Defense Fund of Election Protection Program and initiative that we will be rolling out across this state and actually many other states as well. And then we're also pleased, not excited that they have to be here, but honored that we are joined by workers from Western North Carolina who had to flee with their families from Helene with the Union of Southern Service Workers, who are going to talk to us about what's at stake in this election and what we learned from this disaster, this unnatural disaster that happened in Western North Carolina. I first want to invite Reverend Wayne Wilhelm of the North Carolina Poor People's Campaign Tri-Chair to come forward to greet us.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
Yes, forward together.
Not one step back.
I am Wayne Wilhelm, one of the Tri-Chairs with the North Carolina Poor People's Campaign, along with Reverend Rodney Sadler and George Friday. We are grateful to be here today. Again, as Rob's here, we're grateful for our partners that have come to join to kick off this tour across the state of North Carolina. Repairs of the Breach, Council of Churches, Forward Justice, the Union Service Workers. We are all gathered here today because we realize that 30% of this electorate are made up of poor and low-wage, infrequent voters. And this tour is designed to mobilize many of the 3.4 million poor and low-wage voters that are across this state. We know that if we can reach out to these who have not been impacted and not been spoken to, we've heard from people that have been canvassing that this is the first time that people have been in their neighborhoods to talk to them about the importance and the power of their vote and the power of their voice and the difference that they can make when we come together. So we are grateful to be here today. We're grateful for all of our partners. We're grateful to reach out. We're going to wake up this sleeping giant. We are that swing vote that can make that difference. Just last night, in a matter of about 30 minutes, we reached over 200,000 poor and low-wage, infrequent voters. We are coming together, and we are going to stay together, and we're going to continue to move forward together.
Not one step back.
All right, let the church say amen.
Amen.
At this point, I want to invite Jamie Gunter and Nikisha Pickens to come up together, and with any of the other colleagues from Union of Southern Service Workers. The members of both parties in our state often like to brag about being number one for business. I think we got bumped down to number 2 by CNBC. But on the other hand, we're 51st for workers.
Wow. That's right.
Or 52nd, actually, which is hard to do because we're worse than Puerto Rico and D.C. So we can't be number 1 for business if we're 52 for workers.
Wow.
Because workers are our business, and the corporations have been getting tax cuts by these folks behind us for years.
Yeah.
And we know that the workers are the base of North Carolina and those who we need to support. And we are honored to have Jamie and Nikisha here to share a little bit about what they've experienced and what they're doing in their communities. Please give it up.
Hi, my name is Jamie Gunner. I am a Union of Southern Service Workers from Asheville, North Carolina. I work fast food restaurants at Mars Hill University. I make $18 an hour. I'm staying in Durham for the time being because my home is unavailable after Hurricane Helene. My roof leaked and water everywhere in the house. A tree fell on my roof and it made it leak, and my ceilings and everything's already gone. My workplace back home is closed with no power, so I'm getting no wages. I'm not going to be able to buy medicine. The electric bill is due. It actually came in yesterday. Even though I haven't even had power in 12 days, all my food is now rotten. Over $300 worth. The low-wage working class is going to suffer so much Then some of us have completely lost our homes. Farmers lost cattle and horses. They had to watch them drown. It was terrible. Some of our workplaces are completely gone. It's just a foundation. Some of the foundations ain't even there. But it's just so terrible. It's the people don't have jobs no more, you know? The low-wage working people don't have jobs no more. Now what are they going to do? Corporations don't help us. Mm-hmm. We already don't make a living wage, even when there isn't a hurricane tearing us up. How are we supposed to not just survive a hurricane, but rebuild? The flood destroyed everything. There's no roads. How can we even get around? And the countless lives lost. You can't replace those.
Yeah.
There's so many. We need those corporations to take care of us workers. Mm-hmm. The ones who make them their money.
Yep.
We build their business.
Yeah.
We take care of them.
Yeah.
We make sure they don't need nothing. They should make sure we don't need nothing.
Yeah.
That's right.
We need those corporations to take care of us workers. The ones who make their money. We shouldn't be forced to go to work in a disaster. My work wants me to come back next week. We shouldn't have to lose wages when we evacuate. Corporations should take money and put it back for their workers in case something like this does happen. You know they get paid.
Yep.
They get reimbursed. We are forced to work hard jobs for poverty wages, and we make these companies billions. The least they can do is guarantee our safety. The least they can do is pay during emergency store closures. The least they can do is respect our rights to organize and unionize so that we can have a say. And if they won't do right by us, we're not going to do right by them. We'll walk out. We'll walk out from our jobs into the ballot box. We are swing votes.
Yeah.
If we all come together, we will win.
Yeah.
One foot forward together.
Not one step back. Yeah.
Thank you.
Not one step back.
Jonathan, I want to ask you all to bring that banner right on over to the middle. And let me welcome everybody that's here today. Forward together, not one step back. Our North Carolina family, we're the tri-chairs for the campaign. If they would just come up, the tri-chairs for the campaign and the leaders in the union movement. We're here today to talk about one thing. My sister's right, they're corporations, but corporations do what they do because of the rules of politics. That's right. And so one of the things that you have to understand is what is at stake in election. Now, we don't endorse candidates in the Poor People's Campaign. We can do it in our private capacity. But as a campaign, we don't endorse candidates, but what we do is we let people know where people have stood, where parties have stood, so that they can consider how they make their decisions. And how we do that is we look at where they have voted. So we're on a major campaign in the Poor People's Campaign this year to reach 15 million poor and low-wage voters across this nation, infrequent voters, because poor and low-wage voters now make up 30% of the electorate.
That's right.
In every state, and in states like North Carolina, over 40% of the electorate. For the media, when we say poor and low wage, we're talking about people who make $50,000 or less in a family of 4. Somebody's going to tell you, well, there are only 37 million poor people. That's if you follow the government's official poverty line, which is flawed, which says that if you make $14,000 a year, you're not poor.
That's right.
Well, we look at the supplemental poverty measurement that most economists look at, and we look at poverty and low wages. And when you look at that number, you're talking about in excess of 135 million people.
That's right.
You're talking about, in 2020, over 55 million poor and low-wage workers. Those are workers who make less than $15 an hour as a minimum wage.
That's right.
You're talking about some 32 to 40 million people now. It is critical that we understand this. We're looking at, so we've already, since we began this campaign, I'm coming to announce this morning that we've already reached over 10 million poor and low-wage voters across America through a historic program using social media and texting that had not been embraced before. And right now, as I speak, just last night, we launched another part of the campaign to reach another 3 million poor and low-wage voters. I understand that in less than an hour, with some 5,000 volunteers from around the country, they were able to reach over 250,000 people in 30 minutes. We also have asked that each one of the voters that we reach, poor and low-wage voters, that they would reach 10 people. That they would send what we send to them. And what they get is a report card that reports on 2 things, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and the 2 candidates running for president. And when you look at those issues, you can also use the party facts to trickle down, if you will, into how you look at state legislatures. We're looking at policy. Not personality.
That's right. That's right.
Not color, skin, not personality, not gender, but policy. Somebody say policy.
Policy.
And we know right here in North Carolina is the home of 3.5 million poor and low-income eligible voters.
That's right.
We know that in the last election for president in North Carolina, the margin of victory was only 74,000 votes. And we know that poor and low-wage voters in North Carolina make up over 41% of the electorate. And we know in the last election, over 1 million poor and low-wage voters did not vote. And the number one reason they did not vote is they said no one talked to them.
That's right.
They did not hear them say their issues. No one talked directly to them. This comes from a study called Waking the Sleeping Giant. It's not just hyperbole, something we're just saying. So we made a commitment that we would touch, because what we found is there's not a state in this country, particularly in so-called battleground states. We really don't know what are battleground states because we've not seen the whole American public battle yet. Normally only about 65% of the electorate votes in the first place. But in so-called battleground states like Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, places like that, Nevada, Arizona, there's not one of those states where if 15% of the poor and low-wage voters that did not vote were to vote this year around an agenda, that they could not overcome the margin of victories in the last election.
That's right.
Somebody say that's power.
That's power.
That's real power.
Real power.
And so right here in this state, we know, I'm gonna give you these numbers, members of the media, that in North Carolina, as I said, 3.4 million low-income eligible voters. In 2020, 2.2 million of those voters voted. 1.1 million didn't vote. The margin of victory was 74,000 in the presidential election, which means the margin of victory is only 6% of the number of poor and low-wage voters that didn't vote.
That's right.
That if 7% of poor and low-wage voters that did not vote were to vote, it would change the outcome of the election. Now, In North Carolina, we have already, in North Carolina, we have sent text to 386,285 North Carolinians using peer-to-peer texting. And in North Carolina total, since we've begun this process, we have actually reached out to 2.6 million poor and low-income voters. All of them got this report card. All of them got a video of their peers declaring why, if we ever need to vote, we sure do need to vote now. And all of them got a listing of where they could go to check their registrations, make sure they're registered, make sure they know about early voting, so forth and so on. Now, how are we doing this? What are we saying to people since we don't endorse candidates? What we talk about are the issues, and here are the political issues. Because poor and low wage voters are the largest potential swing vote in this country.
Yes.
It's 87 million poor and low wage voters. In the last election, 57 million voted, which means 30 million didn't. And we set as a goal to touch at least 15 million. That's 50% of the 30 million that did not vote in the last election.
Yes.
The political issues that we say we're sending out: raising the nation's minimum wage to $15 an hour. The Democrats, yes. Vice President Harris, yes. Republicans, no. And Trump, no. This is how the report card looks. Protecting and expanding workers' rights to unionize.
Yes.
Democrats, yes. Harris, yes. Republicans, no. And actually 2%, only 2% of Republicans said yes. And Trump, no. Again, we're not telling people where to vote.
That's right.
These are the facts of where they already have voted. We're just alerting, and the law allows us to do that. Lowering prescription drug prices. Democrats, 100%. Harris, yes. Republicans, 0%. Trump, no. Cutting Medicaid funding and taking away coverage. Democrats, 100%. Harris said no to cutting Medicaid funding. Harris said no to cutting Medicaid funding. 99% of Republicans said yes. Trump said yes. You see where we're going with this? Cutting food assistance funding. Democrats, 0% said yes to cutting. Harris said, no to cutting. Harris said no to cutting. 99% of Republicans said yes to cutting food assistance. And Trump said yes. I don't know if we have the media kit, but make sure everyone the media gets a copy of this report card. And what we're also showing here is that the same people and the same parties that vote against raising the minimum wage tend to also vote against union rights.
That's right.
They also vote against cutting Medicaid expansion. They also vote against food assistance. They also vote against clean air protection. They also vote against a woman's right to protect her body.
That's right.
They also vote against relief for working families with children. What we do in this report card is what is allowed. We simply tell people this is where people have stood when they had a chance to actually vote.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
It's your decision to make who you stand for, but you need to know. You don't need to follow the lies and the innuendos. You need to actually know.
That's right.
These report cards were vetted by some of the best lawyers in the country and some of the best scholars in the country who look at public policy.
That's right.
And they all were directed. This is what's going into the hands of over 15 million poor and low-wage voters around the country, over 2.6 million right here in North Carolina. And then they are forwarding these same messages to 5 to 10 people. We will not be voters who are ignorant about what is going on. The goal of this campaign is not to be loud, it is to be right.
That's right.
And if we're right and loud, that's okay. We don't want to be loud and wrong. And what we want folk to know is what's at stake in the election. We cannot tell you who to vote for. In this privately, yes, I'll tell you. But personally, as an organization, no. But what we can do is report two things. how people have used their power
That's right.
in the political arena, based on party, based on their position that they were elected to. And secondly, the power you have to shift things.
That's right.
Yes.
Poor and low-wage voters are not to be played with anymore.
That's right.
Nor are their allies, religious and moral leaders, nor are advocates who stand beside them.
Yes.
Poor
Yes.
and low-wage voters. Just 7% of poor and low-wage voters in this state who didn't vote the last time, if they were to vote, they could change the outcome of elections in North Carolina from the presidential race all the way down to the county commissioners and the city council.
That's right. That's
And
right.
we say, if we ever needed to vote, we sure do need to vote now.
That's right.
No need to have all this power and not use it.
That's right. That's right.
So I come here this morning off the field. We're starting today a statewide revival. First of all, we want to pray for our brothers and sisters out west.
Yeah.
But not only are we praying for brothers and sisters out west, across the Poor People's Campaign, the tri-chairs who are here, we're calling all of our connections to give blood where they can, to send food where they can, to send money if money is possible. We're calling on all of our people to care. Because when we talk about poor and low-wage people in this state, we're talking about white, the majority are white. We're talking about white, black, brown, Asian, Native, Latino. We're talking about the full spectrum, young, old, gay, straight. It doesn't matter to us. So first of all, let's take a moment and hear, as where is she at? She was just telling us about the devastation. Where's Jamie? That's going on up because of what happened. And what she was describing to you is what happens when bad public policies exist before a bad storm.
Yes. Yes.
And then what the bad storm does is exposes the bad policy.
That's right.
See, the bad storm exposes how bad it is not to have a minimum wage of at least $15 an hour.
Yes.
The bad storm will expose how bad it is not to have sufficient food and housing and water and infrastructure.
Yes.
The bad storm exposes how wrong it is when a political party focuses more on tax breaks to corporation than union rights and labor rights.
Yes.
Woo! The storm exposes. When I was a young boy, the old saints used to sing a song, and the song said, God rose in a windstorm and put something on everybody's mind.
All right.
God rode in a windstorm
Great.
and put something on everybody's mind. The storm exposes the bad public policy that should not exist.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
And so we're going to stand with our brothers and sisters, not only from a standpoint of helping and doing social service work, but from a standpoint of voting and using our power to move people, to get to hopefully elect people who will cut out some of the storms of public policy so that when people come to the storms of hurricane, they don't have such pain in their lives.
That's right.
That's what our work has to be.
Yes.
These storms have to wake us up
That's right.
to the power that we cannot sit on our power.
Come on.
There needs to be a wind at the voting box.
That's right.
All through early voting, there needs to be a wind of poor and low-wage people. There needs to be a massive turnout. If you've sat home before, don't sit home anymore.
That's right.
We need to move. And then, so we remember. But then we also are making it clear that we cannot stand down. Say, cannot stand down.
Cannot stand down.
Democracy is hard.
Yes.
It's not easy. You can't sit out. We know, and this is not endorsing, this is the truth. We know that, and when for instance, President Trump got elected, he got elected by about 200,000 votes over 5 states. But in those same states, over 5 million poor and low-wage voters didn't vote.
That's right.
They didn't vote because nobody talked to them.
That's right.
So we're calling on both parties. We're calling, talk to our brothers and sisters. Let them know where you have stood and where you will stand
Yes.
on the critical issues that matter if, in fact, you get power. We say it like this: our votes are demands.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
We're not just voting for personality, but our votes are demands.
Yes.
Our votes are demand for living wages. Our votes are demand for health care. Our votes are demand. And we are the largest potential swing vote in the country.
That's right.
And we intend to swing.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
There's a song they used to sing in New York said something like this: "You ain't got a thing if you ain't got that swing. You ain't got a thing if you ain't got that swing. So you ain't done a thing if you don't talk to poor and low-wage voters. You ain't done a thing if you don't talk to my friends in the labor movement. You haven't done a thing if you don't talk to the folk who make this country what it is by grinding it out every day. You haven't done a thing if you don't listen to the folk who fought through COVID and saved the rest of our lives while they didn't have living wages, they didn't have health care, they didn't have paid family leave. You ain't got a thing.
That's right.
Unless what?
You got
that swing. And we intend to swing. God bless you. Come on. Bring up Caitlin. Yeah.
All right. We still have another worker from Western North Carolina that's going to come in a minute, but first we want to bring up Attorney Caitlin Swain from Forward Justice, who's going to talk about the election protection work that we are embarking on. Please welcome Attorney Swain.
Yes.
All right. Forward together.
Not one step back.
My name is Caitlin Swain, and I'm the co-director of Forward Justice and Forward Justice Action Network. We are here today with the sun shining. This is the last day of voter registration in North Carolina, and we are going to make our voices heard. Bishop Barber,
Oh my, it's time.
talk to us about the storms. Jamie, talk to us about the storms. Nikisha is going to speak to us about the storms. But we know that there is a rising tide in North Carolina right now and across the South of people power, people standing together and saying, we will not turn back. We will not turn back. So we know that it is a dangerous time for our democracy.
That's right.
And it is a dangerous time for our family, our friends, our people, all across the South who are being hit by natural disasters and unnatural disasters, preventable and unpreventable right now. We are standing with love and solidarity for our people who are working with mutual aid right now to take care of each other as we stand here today. But we are not taking our eyes off the prize. The prize of enduring people power. The democracy belongs to the people, not the politicians.
That's right.
11 years without the Voting Rights Act here in this state, the first state to be attacked in 2013 with the first and worst voter suppression law. We can say Bishop Barber and the movement here in North Carolina saved 17 days of early voting. And we are going to use those 17 days of early voting here in North Carolina. Early voting starts next Thursday. Anyone can same-day register during early voting in this state. If you do not have your registration by the end of today, you can go to your voting precinct, any early voting site, and you can register to vote. There is a lot of misinformation and disinformation circulating about who is entitled to what in this state. Let us be clear. Every eligible voter in this state is entitled to cast their ballot, express their policy choices, and call for what they need for their children, for their future, for what they want in their schools, for what they need to recover from this disaster. And what we are so proud to do today is announce a new partnership between the Poor People's Campaign, Forward Justice, and the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. We will be repairers of the breach and the Kairos Center. We are standing arm in arm in 8 southern states in this time. We are ensuring that there is no vote that is wrongfully denied. If you are a part of this electorate, which every eligible voter in this state is, you can call 866-our-VOTE.
That's right.
866-our-VOTE. And you will have voting rights attorneys ready to assist you to ensure that your vote counts in this election. If you have questions about whether you can use absentee ballots because you have been displaced from your community, call us, and we are going to make sure that your vote counts. The other states that we are going to be in together, all across the South: North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana. Why are we in those states? One, because we know that if you change the South, you can change this nation. Two, these are states that were previously covered by the Voting Rights Act and that we know deserve to be covered again when the Voting Rights Act is restored. And three, because we understand that collectively these states control 134 electoral votes, and they are home to over 26.7 million poor and low-wage eligible voters who deserve to have their voice in the future of this country, and who are standing up for all of us right now when there are so many other pressing issues that they have to and we have to take on every day. People are trying to figure out, how do I get childcare right now? Where can I stay tomorrow night? And we are saying we want to be with you in that work to support you. And we are also going to be with you in making your power heard at the ballot box. Lastly, we want to be able to share that in North Carolina, if you have questions about your right to vote, you can go to protectourvotenc.org. We are keeping that up to date, and it is a partnership website with Repairers of the Breach, with Forward Justice, and with a huge coalition of powerful democracy advocates in this state who have not slept, seeking to make sure that we are here for this time. This morning when I came here, I said, I feel the solemnness of this time that we are in. But I also feel the joy. I feel the energy. I feel the people who are saying to me every day, don't get tired, don't get weary. We are in this fight, and we are proud to be together for the next 30 days and beyond to ensure that this democracy represents the voices of its people and not the political preferences of the politicians. Thank you.
Let me thank Forward Justice for their tremendous work, the work of Caitlin Swain and our lawyers. As you can hear, we are engaging, our movement engages in moral litigation, moral agenda building, moral articulation, moral agitation, whatever it takes nonviolently to move this system towards a more perfect union that represents all of the people. Let me have the list too of the states, because I want to make sure the media gets that before our last speaker comes. And I want to make sure that you have that. And this tour that we're launching today will be in Greenville tomorrow, and then we'll be down in deep eastern North Carolina, Hyde County. We're not forgetting these counties.
That's right.
They're critical. Every vote is critical. Then we're going to be up in Salisbury, and everything we do will be live streamed to thousands of people. And then we're going to come back later and do some additional counties. And then I'm going to national tour to preach 3 national sermons. One at the Riverside Church in New York, where Dr. King preached about the time to break silence. We'll be there in that pulpit, and then we'll be at Howard University. Howard University the Sunday before the actual election day, because we know election is a season, not just a day.
That's right.
But the students have asked that we come, and that will be televised and pushed out throughout live stream across the nation.
That's right.
And then we will conclude at Union Baptist Church in Winston-Salem for a national moral revival, where we hope to have at least 1 million people to tune in through social media, and we will have voices, key clergy, moral leaders' voices from at least 8 or 9 of the so-called battle states who will be speaking that night. We are very serious about working hard. We learned from what Frederick Douglass said in a time of regression that had to be turned to joy and the people standing for what was right. He said that when you touch us, all it does is intensifies and emboldens our agitation.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't do anything to stop us. It only
Yes, sir.
increases. So the states that we talk about, these 15 million voters that we're reaching, is Alabama, Arizona. In Arizona, for instance, it only takes 1% of those that didn't vote to vote this time to overcome the past margin of victory. Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Michigan, Mississippi, North Carolina, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Texas, Virginia, Wisconsin, and West Virginia. And if there are members of the media that would like a copy or a list of this, because it actually shows the number of eligible poor and low wage voters, who voted, who didn't vote, and how much of a margin of victory, how many it would take to vote this time to overcome the past margin of victory. And you would be surprised.
Yes, sir.
You would literally be surprised how small the number is in terms of what it would take to overcome past margin of victory. Our next person, and then we'll take questions from the media.
Please welcome from the Union of Southern Service Worker, Nikisha Pickens.
All right,
Let's go, Keisha.
Keisha Keith.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Nikisha Pickens, and I live in Asheville, North Carolina. I work at 5 and Below. I was recently displaced from my home in Asheville because of Hurricane Helene, my bad, sorry. Where I'm coming from, there's a lot of homes that are damaged and destroyed. We need all the help from government officials, even people who has kids.
Yes.
I am so inspired to see churches coming together to help us in these needs, volunteers, people from out of the state coming at this moment of crisis.
Yep.
The Union of USSW personally made sure that me and my nieces and nephews had somewhere safe to go during the storm.
Yes.
Made sure the kids was taken care of too. More needs to be done. I'm calling on government officials and companies to respect the needs of those in Western North Carolina.
Yes.
We have lost our basic needs. With no job, we can't pay our bills. The union has ran water, gas, and other supplies up to Western to help out families in need. 5 and Below is temporarily closed because of the flooding. Without a paycheck, I can't even pay my health insurance. Well, we shouldn't even have to worry about paying rent nor other bills because of everything that's going on. We should be focused on our families and making sure they're safe.
That's right. That's right.
5 and Below is a $5 billion corporation. They can afford to give us emergency pay. They choose not to.
That's right.
I only make $14 an hour. That's not even livable wages in Western. I'm here to say, please, government, people, churches, we need you at this moment.
Yes.
Workers like me, communities like mine, are standing up and taking action. Make our voices be heard. We are powerful, and we will have a swing vote. We got this. Thank you.
All right. And the truth is, we shouldn't have to pay for health care.
That's right.
That's a government issue. You should have to have it. You shouldn't be able to pay somebody under $15 an hour. That's a political issue. That's an issue decided by policy. And we call on politicians, whoever you are, and I can say this is not partisan, this is prophetic, that we don't need anybody running for office, Mr. Trump, that's lying about what's going on in North Carolina, and people are hurting.
That's right.
And if you want to say something about how you're going to make people have health care and living wages and not be lying about what's going on. We don't need to play politics with what's going on now.
That's right.
These are two serious issues. And even before these storms, 800 people die every day from poverty and low wages.
That's right.
295,000 people a year die unnecessarily because of the ravages of poverty and low wages that does not have to exist.
Yes.
Do we have any questions from members of the media? Yes, sir.
I just want to ask what you all thought of the actions the State Board of Elections and the legislature took this week regarding access to voting, and if there was anything more you think they should have done to help people out west.
We'll have our attorneys to speak to that issue.
Yeah. We're glad about the first steps that were taken by both the State Board of Elections and the General Assembly in bipartisan action this week. As you all likely saw on Wednesday, there was a effort that we supported to extend voter registration deadline across the state up until October 16th in order to allow for people who have been displaced, regardless of which county they are in, to be able to register to vote even during that period. Some of our sister states have done this. We believe that that is right to do. We also believe that there is an additional grace period that should be restored for absentee ballots to be able to come in later if necessary and count. No voter should have their vote thrown out or questioned because of this natural disaster. The other thing that we want to raise up is that this repairs of the breach, Forward Justice, the NAACP, many organizations filed a federal lawsuit challenging the photo voter ID requirement in the state. We are still waiting on that decision, but we want to make it clear to every voter that you have the right to vote in this state with or without a picture photo voter ID. If you have lost your ID, because of this disaster, there are ways to get support to get your ID, but we also want to be clear that when you go to the ballot box, you can use an exception form, sign your name, and say, because of a natural disaster, I do not have this requirement, and your ballot should count. We are going to make sure that it counts. This is an impediment that we do not believe. This is an impediment that we know is unconstitutional and we believe should be removed, but we are going to do everything in our power to ensure that there is correct information getting out to all voters. No voter will be turned away because you do not have a photo ID that is one of those requirements. And we will be here to support you in those efforts. The other, go ahead, Bishop.
And, brother in the media, and a limited photo ID. Our movement wants everybody to vote, regardless of party, regardless of color, regardless of geography, regardless of income. This disaster shows again how North Carolina had already been doing it right. You go to the polls, you sign your name, signature attestation. There was no fraud. It wasn't creating a problem. The whole idea of photo ID and a limited photo ID is an attempt. That's why we filed a lawsuit to suppress the vote. So there are these provisions. You just heard our counsel mention. But understand, our movement believes in voting. We are not suppressors.
That's right.
And that's the question we have for those who are always trying to suppress the vote. What are you scared of?
Say that.
Why is it that you don't want everybody to vote?
Yeah.
Why are you scared of the swinging? Are you scared that it might not swing your way? Well, if you want it to swing your way, talk to the people, make your case.
Yes.
Let them know the policies you're going to stand for. But don't undermine the democracy. And something like this shows exactly why. How many families, I don't care who they were going to vote for, how many families can't find anything right now?
That's right. That's right.
But they're North Carolina citizens. And a few years ago, all they would have to do, if the storm had blown their idea in the way, is go down to their precinct,
That's right.
sign their name, at risk of a felony, 5-year felony sentence if they lie. And nobody was lying. Nobody was trying to risk 5-year felony. And Republicans and Democrats had agreed with that. So what we ended up with, as you said, a solution in search of a problem. That's why we've been so diligent in filing lawsuits to stop that. We want the voters to vote.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Any others? Members of the media? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And you're with?
I'm Brandon Kingdollar with NC Newsline.
Yes, sir.
Is the Poor People's Campaign doing any direct outreach to voters in
Oh, yeah.
Nashville right now?
Well, yes, we are. We have people in the campaign there. And you have our tri-chairs here, and they're in touch. They have people all over. We are still reaching out because one of the ways we're reaching out through voting is sell, but we're also going to be talking about ways we can reach out with the union, providing some resources and funds, fighting and pushing that because what we recognize is altruistic giving is great, but a problem this magnitude requires government.
Yeah.
It requires government intervention. You couldn't fix this problem with all the churches in the world.
Come on.
And so that's why we fight for the kinds of policies, the kinds of transformation. That's why we're saying to people, stop lying about what the government is or not doing for political points. And let's all get in there and put our shoulders, because this could be any of us.
That's right.
One turn, it is all of us, but one turn, this could have been Eastern. We're seeing that. These storms are real. They're coming out of the climate issues that we're facing and the warming up of the atmosphere. And all of these people are our brothers and sisters. And so the answer to that is yes. And we're saying don't forget the people. But even if these storms had not hit, before these storms, ask these brothers and sisters, the problem in deep western North Carolina, in many places, is low wages, lack of health care,
That's right.
limited water rights, the housing. There was a poverty low wage storm prior to this physical storm that happened. And the storm that has happened now is exacerbating the storm that already existed.
That's right. That's right.
Any others? All right, Reverend Broom, would you come and close us out? If there are none others, all members of the media have the paperwork. We have our media person right here, and she can make sure you have copies. So we want you to have it. You're welcome to print it. Again, last night we started our second round of texting to nearly 3 million persons, and over 250,000 were touched just in last night's text bank. Let me just say to the media as well, we have churches, denominations that are involved with us in this. Labor is involved with this labor union. And what we did for a year is we helped raise up nearly 5,000 peers, 5,000 people across this nation who said, I want to spend some time making sure that at least 15 million of poor and low wage folk know what the issues are, know what their rights are, know what their power is. And that's what we're working toward in this time.
That's right.
Dr. Broom?
Woo! Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
Good morning.
good morning. Good morning.
I am Reverend Dr. Hannah R. Broom, President of North Carolina Council of Churches, as well as the Director of Religious Affairs for Repairs of the Breach. National Director of Repairs of the Breach.
Yeah.
As the storm of oppression rages and the winds of inequality swirl around us, we, the North Carolina Council of Churches and Repairs of the Breach, stand firm in our call to action. We will not turn back, for we walk in solidarity with the poor, the oppressed, and those who bear the weight of low wages. We call on every soul of conscience to cast their vote as a beacon of hope and justice. Together, let us be unyielding, an unyielding force that shelters the vulnerable, uplifts the downtrodden, and also our journey towards justice should be relentless.
Yes.
We should have our faith unshakable. Let us press on, united, unbowed, and unwavering in making sure that every vote is counted, every person has human dignity, and we will not turn back. Forward together.
Not one step back.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
One more time. Forward together.
Not one step back.
Amen.
Woo! Amen. Thank you all for coming. Please do make sure that you get a scorecard. Hold that up, Clinton. You can take a couple of them. We also have Democracy NC's scorecard here as well. That over here to my left. If you'll bring those when you return your signs. Thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Woo. Thank you.